And he stops and he goes, Bird, I'm trying real hard here. I'm trying real hard. Can you walk me through what you were thinking? I was like, oh man, I really messed up this time. It's like, usually I can like think, Sterling, you don't know, and Sterling, usually I can get my way out. But I was like, nah, dead to rights. I was like, well, see, I was trying to, because did I tell you about the people? And he was like, Bird, the police officer told me those men were gangbangers. I was like, you don't say. This is We Don't Always Agree, the podcast where we thrive on hard conversations. I'm Ryan Michelle Bethay.
And I'm Sterling K. Brown.
We said I do almost 20 years ago. And two things about us: we love each other deeply, and we can disagree deeply about a lot of things.
This is true, but we've been learning how to disagree healthily. And this show is our way of pulling back the curtain and sharing our evolution with you. Bird, is you ready?
Child, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Let's go, big dog. We Don't Always Agree is recorded at the Blackbird House flagship in Culver City, California. You ready?
Yes.
Start it up, Bird.
I'm going to start it up.
You doing all right?
Yeah,
You look good. You feel good?
Thank you. I do.
That's what I like.
do.
That's
I
okay.
do. Thank
Come on.
you. I feel smart today.
What are we talking about?
I wore my black jacket to talk about activism. And the role of activism and art and the intersection of those things.
Yeah.
And social justice, because of course that has become quite the catchphrase. Social justice warrior, all of those things. It's wielded like a weapon.
Yeah.
But it does beg the question, what is the role of an artist or any kind of public figure when it comes to speaking out, when it comes to social justice, when it comes to activism?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have to ask, because what is our role as Black people, right? Do we have a different responsibility? Are there a different set of expectations?
Very good questions, you know.
A lot of people struggle with this because
I struggle with it.
You do struggle with it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's opinions on either side with regards to, do you speak up? Do you shut up? You know what I'm saying? Like, shut up and act, that sort of
shut
thing.
Up and dribble.
You know, you're not respected as a citizen in these streets because you happen to entertain people. So it's like, that's the most ridiculous thing. But others are looking at celebrities for to tell us the way to go. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out still for myself, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll see where we agree, where we disagree, and maybe sometimes we'll meet in the middle, right?
I like that. Come on. I like that. Okay, so we don't have an expert today, but we're going to have an expert definition so that we can put a little context around this. All right,
definition of
social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunity.
I stand behind that. Okay.
All right, well, do you, since you are an artist and you happen to be a celebrity and you are an actor, you're all three of those things, what do you believe is the general role or the specific role for you in social justice?
I've been navigating this and sort of figuring it out for myself, because I want to start by saying, like, when you're just an actor, nobody really gives 2 cents for the most part what you think about things. And then I found myself thrust into a situation or to a level of notoriety where people are like, well, what does Sterling think about this, right? And I was like, that was an interesting space for me to occupy. It made me think of this Chappelle joke back in the day after 9/11, where he talks about how everybody was trying to interview Ja Rule to find out how he felt about the Twin Towers. And remember this? People are like, where is Ja? I want to know what Ja thinks about the towers. Because he was sort of like looking at the sort of silliness of, why are we looking to celebrities to comment on these things? But
he's always there when you call.
But the interesting thing is that when you have a following from music, from sports, from entertainment, etc., and you sort of grow to become someone that people trust, whether you've earned their trust or not through different reasons, your voice has some impact, right? And it can amplify things that you think are of import, right? Or it can sort of things that are causes that are near and dear to you, you may be able to turn people's attention to that they didn't know anything about. Where I'm sort of resting with it right now is when it feels authentic to you, when you feel like you have something to say, that you're not forcing it, that you're not trying to get in the conversation just to be a part of something, but you're like, you know what, this is on my heart, and you share from that place. I think that is the easiest place for me to begin in terms of how I utilize my platform to show up for social justice. What about you?
I think I have a slightly more controversial view.
Come on.
In that,
surprise,
maybe
surprise.
Not surprise. Maybe it's not controversial. I guess I just feel like every single person who is an American citizen has the responsibility to be political, right? And what I mean by that is, ideally, the idealized view of how this is supposed to work is of, for, and by the people.
Okay.
So when a group of people decide, well, I'm not political. Well, now you have said, I'm no longer going to participate in this experiment. The very fun foundation of, for, and by the people, I'm going to opt out of. Because how can you vote if you don't even know what's going on? And if you don't vote, then it's not of, for, and by you specifically. It's for some other people. And I wish we had civics lessons in this country and we could explain and let young children know, if you have nothing else in this country, you have a vote. And it's your responsibility to be educated. And I personally believe we should be political about the dog catcher. I think we should be political about, voting on whether or not what do you call those things?
What?
Put the money in the money meter, the meter, the parking meter. Somebody makes a decision about whether it's a quarter, a dollar, $2. Who's making that decision? Somebody that you probably had to vote for.
Okay.
So for me, and I feel like it's such an intrinsic part of being an American that I very much bristle when people are like, just shut up and dribble.
Sure.
Or you don't have a role. And especially because we come from such a lineage of artists, especially Black artists, who use whatever power they had to move that ball down the field.
I will agree with that.
Where civil rights are concerned.
Yeah, no, I would look at different people, whether it was Muhammad Ali or Bill Russell, Jim Brown, Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, et cetera, and be like, wow, these are men who recognize the impact that they have, the breadth of people that they can reach through their platforms, and they are not being idle with regards to it. My question to you, given off of what you had just said, is, so you feel like you should chime in on any and everything?
There's two different things.
Okay.
There's a public sphere, right?
Yes.
In terms of, I don't think
public sphere, voting, et cetera. But I'm talking specifically in terms of how you utilize your platform through social media, through appearances on different talk shows, et cetera.
No, I don't think that you should chime in on everything, but I do think that it is your responsibility to, whether it's behind the scenes, whether it is a chiming in, I do think that everybody has the responsibility to wield whatever power they have for social change and for social good. Lena Horne, I didn't even know this until I read, somebody wrote a movie about it. It didn't get made, but I read the script about how she was one of the main people who was organizing meetings with Robert Kennedy.
Really?
To talk to John Kennedy about the civil rights movement. And who knows where that would have went? Yeah. We don't know. We really have no way of knowing but we do know for a fact that she was instrumental in needling and pushing the administration, right? And it was only because she was in a position of power to do so.
Yeah.
And she used her power in that way. But then there are other people who use their power to organize locally. I just think that is a fundamental way that you pay homage to the fact that you have the privilege.
I see what you're saying.
Of voting, of being an American, and of freedom. And yes, we can talk about whether we are free, all those things, but whatever little bit we do have, I think it's our responsibility to take that and try to amplify it.
I'm a fan of voting. Let me just be clear on that.
Okay, good.
The idea that anybody is sitting out not casting their ballot. But do you have any concerns at all in terms of when you decide to engage? Because I think you by and large, are the person that's like, I'm ready for the fight. I'm jumping into it.
I have concerns all the time.
Brown is sort of like, is there an opportunity to educate people about something that they may have a minimalistic understanding of, that I may have a higher understanding of? So I'm wondering, like, at any point in time, has there been like any concerns that you've had about speaking out?
Yes, all the time.
Okay.
Especially as a Black woman. I mean, the first thing that people do is they tell me I'm lying. Like when I speak up and I try to speak from an authentic place, I did the MSNBC did a roundtable with Black women, hosted by Joyanne Reed, and it was a beautiful event, and guys can look it up. I think it was called Black Culture. I can't remember the exact title, but it was wonderful because it was all of us sitting around a room, and around this table we had this lovely dinner, and every single person was in a different. It was academics. One woman was a general. One woman was a basketball player turned announcer. Then there was an actress, and then there was Robin Thede, and she's a actress. Like we all came from different walks of life, and to a woman, we all had similar stories. And when we heard the stories, right?
Yeah.
The general talked about how she walked into a room and was trying to give people orders, and something had happened, and then the man was like, okay, but who's in charge? And she's like, I'm in full brass, and she's like, dude, we don't have time for this, right? Like there isn't, and we all felt it. And then to see the comments, people were like, when I shared my story, like that didn't happen. She's lying.
Yeah.
I told a story about makeup in Hollywood and how I was in someone's contract, a show that I worked on, where they didn't have to do my hair. They literally just didn't have to do it, and I had to get it done the night before I had to go on set.
Yeah.
And they were like, that just didn't happen. That doesn't feel good. That feels awful. But we all keep sharing. Like Misty Copeland shares about literally everyone shares from their very real lived experience.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't jive, people just say you're lying. And there is a part of me that doesn't want to experience that, but I know that we have to. I mean, if Misty Copeland is brave enough to do it in a world that is so white and conservative and has such rules around everything, then who am I not to be brave enough to say, this is also what happened to me? That's kind of how I see it. Even though it makes me nervous, it makes me scared. I feel like I have to speak out because I have a little bit of quote unquote celebrity, even though that celebrity is then weaponized against you.
Yeah.
The right-wing concern, whatever you want to call it, whoever's coming for you, they will use that very thing against you.
I tell you, there's a couple of times in which I remember reading. I don't read comments as much as you do on things that I post, because I feel like once I put it out into the world, folks will do what they want to with it. But every once in a while, I'll say something and like somebody come like, oh, the Hollywood elites coming at us again. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a Hollywood elite.
You're so good.
I didn't know. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. It's interesting too, I think, because a lot of my trepidation sometimes has to do with, when I think about my platform, I'm thinking about Instagram, Twitter /X, etc., and how the space for nuanced ideas to be stated and sort of responded to doesn't really exist on that platform. But yet that platform has such huge reach that like you want to use it, and you want to use it responsibly, right? But you also have to figure out, like, before every post like that I've ever put out, whether it was about the Golden Globe Awards, whether it was about Ahmaud Arbery, whatever, before every post, I really go through it painstakingly and be like, all right, can I stand behind what it is that I'm putting out in the world? Because you're going to be asked to defend what you've said, right? You're going to be asked to explain yourself. And if you can't, I was like, if I can't stand behind it, I've deleted so many things. So many things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you know what? This one's not for me. Like every once in a while, I just have to opt out. Not because I'm purposefully being silent or whatever, but because I know on these platforms specifically, like if you can't say what you mean and mean what you say concisely, succinctly, and clearly, bow out, bruh. That's where I am. I don't know about you, but how do you feel? Because I feel like sometimes you move forward anyway. You're like, you ever think about and send?
Well, I mean, and here's the thing, to be honest, I don't have the same reach that you have, right? So I know that I have a little bit of like, I can a little bit easier move through these dead bird app streets, right?
Yeah.
Like I can say things that you can't say because there's just not as many eyeballs.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I do agree that there's not any room, like you said, for nuance.
How would you say that you personally show up to the world of social justice? You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. I'm laughing because it's not that it's funny, but I'm laughing because I'm always like, I've got the like schedule of the marches.
You do.
You know, I'm like, okay, on Tuesday, we're all supposed to go to Pico. On Wednesday, we're supposed to go to the mall. Like and you're like, oh, Lord. I mean, you go, which is very sweet of you.
Go.
You and we take,
but
we've taken our kids.
That drives that train for sure.
Very much so.
You know, because it's interesting too. I'm always very aware that like me showing up at something means something in a really specific way.
Right.
And what is it that I'm making it mean? Because like I don't have the benefit of anonymity and just being there.
No, you don't.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't. And again, it's like, and okay, and here's the thing. I don't go to every single march about every single thing, you know, and it is usually, not even usually, it's always something that I feel so strongly about, you know, and I try to make it a teachable moment, you know, with the kids. Speaking of teachable moments, our president, Barack Obama, when he was, because you know how I felt at the end of his administration, when his administration changed hands.
Yes. You weren't happy. It wasn't like the happiest moment in your life. It wasn't a happy moment.
Yeah. It wasn't a happy moment.
Let's be clear.
But he stood in front of the country and he was like, we've decided that we are going to sit around online yelling at people from our basement. And he was like, go out, build bridges, make connections with people. And I took that very much to heart. And this
so how did you build?
Well, this is before I was just like on Twitter. Like I was like, I am actually going to use this. Like I was like, I don't really go on it, but I'm going to start going on it and use it as a tool to see if I can build bridges with people.
Okay.
I mean, I really did feel like that. And so I went online and I did a Google search for like, not like, I don't know if it's going to sound pejorative, but it was like like out there people on the right.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, there's got to be somebody who I can find middle ground with. And I went through all of them and I followed all of them. And then eventually I was like, okay, well, that person is out there. That person's out there. David French was one of them.
Okay.
And then that's how I found the chicks.
Chicks on the right.
I don't really want to say their name.
It's Chicks on the Right. You don't want to say their name? You want to bleep that?
No, I do. I mean, it's fine. It's chicks. I mean, they haven't been terribly kind to me over the years, even though I really did reach out and start following them and start engaging with them online with the best of intentions. Like one time they tweeted something and I was like, it was about the trans agenda, right? And they tweeted something about trans people want you to start using this word for your own body parts. And the headline, and I looked at the headline, I was like, well, that actually looks like something maybe we agree on. And maybe I'm surprised about this, but let me dig into this a little bit more. Mm-hmm. They had taken something from a website, but the website was specifically for trans people to give them a script to talk to their own doctors.
Yeah.
And it was for any doctor who had trans patients a script to speak to their patients.
Yeah.
But it was taken completely out of context. And I emailed them and I was like, listen, you guys don't seem like you're trying to like hurt. And they were like, well, maybe that particular headline, but you have to admit the trans agenda and da-da-da. And I was like, no. There wasn't a dialogue of like, well, you know, I could see how that particular tweet was inflammatory. Maybe we could have done better. But how do you feel about the dialogue that I so crave and so keep, as much as I'm, you know, fighting and combative, I do think that there is a part of me that really is hopeful that like maybe we are just one conversation away from agreeing.
Yeah.
Like and I don't want to, sometimes I feel like that, you know, and there's that little part of me that is really hopeful that maybe if I just keep talking and just keep reaching out. So my social media
sounding like your husband, like for a hot second, because most of the time
I just cuss a lot though.
You
I'm
cuss
like,
a lot
look,
more.
heifers, I'm looking for some connection. Heifers, old stank crusty bitches.
Stank and crusty.
Stank and crusty.
Yes.
That's where we differ. No, but in all seriousness, they're not stank and crusty. But what I was looking for never came to fruition. And they were, you know, like, oh, you know, they have said not so nice things about me in their tweets to their I don't know, constituents, people.
You go,
fans,
but you clap back. What I sort of appreciate about you is that you're not afraid of the fight. Like if the smoke comes your way, you don't listen. You talked about confrontation in an early episode where you were like, you have a tough time doing it. Like when you're on social media, you go back and forth, and you've done it with a few different people. That's mad uncomfortable to me. Like if I can use the platform in such a way that people can understand something about how I experience life. Mm-hmm. Then I think that's the most effective way for me. Like I posted this thing on Instagram about Ahmaud Arbery because we were in the middle of the pandemic, and I had this sort of naive idea that like racism would stop while the world was suffering from something else. That we were all sort of band together and like sort of like show the inner resolve of what the greatness of humanity is. And I didn't know that you could go jogging in the midst of that and wind up dead. And when I saw that brother, I was like, this brother looks like me.
Yeah.
And I jog all the time. And I knew that there is a protective mask that I wear when I enter into mostly white spaces to put people at ease. I give them a smile or a chuckle or a corny ass joke or whatnot, and they'll be like, he's cool. Let's go. Didn't know I had to do that when I was on a fucking run. And when that young man didn't make it home, it sort of just shook me. Like, I mean, a lot of folks, there's different moments, sort of touchstones happen for different people. And for me, like Ahmaud Arbery was like this moment where when I would be on set sometimes and I'd see a MAGA hat or whatnot, or I'd see a shirt that said, all lives matter, etc. I just felt compelled. It's like, I'm not saying that I matter more than you. I'm saying that historically, given the framework of this country, how we were entered into it, how we were brought here as chattel slavery, as labor, as property, that you thought it was giving us a bone when we got to be 3/5 of a human being. You know what I mean? Like, our lives historically have not mattered. So don't twist it and try to make it into something where someone's elevating themselves above you. We just want to be seen as human. And I had somebody on set come up to me after they had seen that particular post saying, you know what? I used to think when people would say Black Lives Matter, it meant this thingamajigger. And when I saw what you said, I understood it in a completely different light. And he thanked me. And I went and said my lines as Randall Pearson. Like, I don't have to make it a big thing or whatnot. Like, I'm not. And I think that's also, I think you are a social justice warrior. No, and I mean that like with the utmost of affection and admiration, because I think you would probably know how to utilize my platform better than me. I'm just doing what I know that feels right to me.
Well, I mean, you're very authentic in your use of your platform, so I think that is the best use of your platform.
Right on.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and maybe it's a good thing that my yelling and screaming online is in more of a void than yours is, because we all know that I fight a lot, and my activism doesn't always pan out.
Let's take it. Let's take it off of social media. Let's take it to the streets. This is what we're talking about. You want to tell them,
Sterling,
we were young parents.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible.
Go.
And a lot of people know this because I was on Facebook at the time, and so I kind of almost sort of inadvertently live streamed it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling. It was in the midst of everything that was going.
It was just
after
post
Ferguson.
Yes, Mike Brown.
And his passing and so Ferguson was still very much top of mind. And so I come off the 90 in Culver City. People who know don't know. If you know, you know. And anyway, I come off and the street is right there, and there's a car full of black people, young black people who've been pulled over, and 2 police cars. So I pull over behind them and I start filming. And the guy comes over, the police officer, and he's like, you can't be here, you can't film. And I'm like, it's my right, I can absolutely be here. And he's like, well, you got to pull over because you're impeding the arrest. And I was like, I'm far enough. He was like, no, pull over. So I pulled into the little driveway, and he was like, gotcha. You're not supposed to have your phone in your hand when you're filming. And he comes over, and
you're not supposed to have your phone in your hand
while you're driving. You're not supposed to be filming while you're driving.
Need a little clarity.
Even though I pulled into the
phone
driveway,
in your hand when you're filming, different stuff. Okay.
And when he comes over to, give me my little citation, because he's like, you could see he's like excited that I just had done something wrong. And I realized when I did, I was like, oh crap. And he comes over, and he's at the window, and I was like, hands up, don't shoot.
Oh shit.
And that was the end of that.
That was the end of that.
That was the end
God
of
bless.
that. I could see the rage. And he was very clearly, I called them like he was a typical, like he was the LA Negro. Because they came from Louisiana. And so he really looked like looked like he was just going to be like, I guarantee you was about to go to jail. And I was like, oh, Lord. And he was anyway, so he was like...
He was Cajun, not Creole. He was Cajun.
He was Cajun. Creole was something. He was all skin folk and kin folk. He was like, I'm taking your black ass and your black ass baby to jail.
Okay.
Anyway, so at this point, he's like, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be filming. You're not supposed to be driving while you're filming. You're impeding an investigation.
You had also pulled into the driveway where cars are supposed to come in and out of.
No, I was in a parking spot at this point. And then he says, he was like, you stay right here. And I'm in the car, and I'm furiously posting on Facebook. And then he comes back and he goes, did you know there was a warrant for your arrest?
Oh, shit.
And I was like, officer.
You got real demure.
What on earth are you speaking about?
Clutch my pearls, sir.
I was just trying to help you and everyone else in this country by doing a good deed. If you don't mind, I can exit off the buffalo. I'll just be going now. And he was like, you ain't going nowhere.
Sit your black ass right here.
A couple of months prior, I had gotten what I thought was a fix-it ticket for a red.
Stop saying that like it's a thing.
No, it is a thing. Everybody knows that there's a thing that's called a fix-it. Anyway, I thought it was a fix-it ticket. It was a real ticket. And so when I was supposed to go to you
dealt with it the way that you deal with most bills at that time in your life?
I was supposed to go to the courthouse. When I was supposed to go to the courthouse, because of course I was supposed to pay and handle with what I thought was a fix-it ticket, but it was a real ticket. And so anyway, I was supposed to go to the courthouse, and I had just booked the Kevin Hart pilot. Last minute booking. Yeah. And I was like, well, I got a job. And so I'm trying to, the morning of, I'm trying to call, but you can't call. Sure. They don't want to talk to you. So I was like, oh, it'll all come out in the wash. Anyway, long story short, I get to this, and the man is like, there's a warrant out for your arrest. And I was like, Houston, not only do we have a problem, I very well may be the problem. And so it was about to be Memorial Day weekend. He kicks me out of the car. He's like, I'm going to impound your vehicle, and I don't have to do this. And at this point,
so wait, I
think now you have to take over, because I don't know what's happening. And I didn't even think to call you. I'm still texting.
I think you were so angry that you wanted to sort of document the injustice that you were sort of people are like, girl, and now, wait a minute. I have to say that where we were was heading into the black neighborhood, right? So at this point, I'm on the curb with Andrew, right? Andrew is 1, 2, maybe
something. Now there may be a little bit of drive, so I'm rocking my baby, and all these black people are coming off the 90. You okay, sis? I'm like, no, save yourself. I'm like, and I'm humming. And he is pissed because he heard wade in the water, and he was like, I fucking hate you. Right?
Yeah.
And so here I am and people are like, call Simone. Like a friend of mine, Simone, call so-and-so. Girl, you need to. And so who called you?
Claire Janice Jackson Bathay Williams, mother to Ryan Michelle Bathay Brown. Sterling, do you know what's going on with Ryan? And I said, no, man. She's posted on Facebook that she's pulled over on the curb by the police. I'm very concerned, Sterling. Can you find out for me, please?
And I was they got the dogs out at this
point. I was
point.
like, yes, ma'am. I go on Facebook and she's like, they got the dogs out on me now, y'all. Somebody come through, please. And I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on? So I call you, I said, Bird, where are you? She's like, I don't know, Sterling. They're about to turn on the hose, and I'm on the porch, and my son is sitting in our lap, and I don't know if we'll make it out. So I was like, just send a pin drop, homie. Go to the spot. Ryan's got our son sitting in her lap on the curb. My man, I was like, hey, man, can I just talk to you for a second?
Sterling rolls up like, I'm about to give this man. You gave him the full court Sterling Brown press.
What does that entail?
You jumped. Hi, hey, sir, how you doing? Hey, brother, man, brother. I think you called him brother, sir, man. What's up, brother, man? Hey, my Negro from another mother, Mr. Sister, black man. Hello, sir. And I was like, oh shit. So now I'm mad at you because I'm happy to see you, but I'm also like, why he gotta be like that?
I go over and talk to this dude. I say, listen, man, my wife and I are both from St. Louis. You know, the Mike Brown incident is something that's still very, like on the surface for us, right? And he said, you know what, if I had been that cop, I would have done the same thing. And there was like a record skip in my head, like, because like I was relating to him like, say, brother, you know what I'm saying? And then when he hit that, I was like, well, we ain't got to get into politics right now. I just want to know what I got to do to take my wife home. Right? And he talks about how I didn't have to impound your car. I didn't have to. And it was a holiday. It was a holiday weekend. But she was so he wanted to call you out of your name.
He did.
And he did everything like short of it.
Yes.
But you could see, and I was like,
now I'm not privy. I'm watching this.
He knows a little bit of what it means to feel like being married to Ryan Michelle. Like he had an experience of like, this sister is giving me a run for my money. And I was like, sir,
my ticket, I will proudly say it said, I actually have a ticket that said you are a public nuisance.
So I was like,
legalese for a bitch.
Is it okay? I was like, can I take the car seat out and a few other things out of the car? I was like, yeah, of course you can. Da, 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 da. So we leave. We go home as a family. It was a very
silent car ride. Sterling is saying nothing. We pull into our driveway and he stops and he goes, Bird, I'm trying real hard here. I'm trying real hard. Can you walk me through what you were thinking? I was like, oh man, I really messed up this time. It's like usually I can like think, Sterling, you don't know, and Sterling, usually I can get my way out, but I was like, nah, dead to rights. I was like, well, see, I was trying to, because did I tell you about the people? And he was like, Bird, the police officer told me those men were gangbangers. I was like, you don't say. I was like, Sterling, Crips have rights too.
That's a fact.
He was like, I'm done.
But at
like,
that
don't
point,
talk to
I
me.
was like, all right, I have to, had to go keep a couple of deep breaths.
There was a lot of, it was not a happy Memorial Day.
We had to take a couple
weekend.
of deep breaths, and then we had to wait the whole weekend because it was a Friday, and then we had to go wait through Monday. So on Tuesday,
we went to get our car and all the paperwork.
And I go inside of the precinct.
No.
What?
We pull up, we park, we stop. You turned to me, you said, now you keep your black ass in this car. I don't want no shenanigans. I don't want you to get out of this car and you act like you got some you stay right here in this damn car. And then you walked in. It was exact, verbatim. You walk in, you were gone for a long time, and then you come out and you were like, you got in the car, you slammed the door, you said, now listen, they need you to go in here. And what I want you to do is, I swear to God, Ryan, you better walk in there and act like you got some damn sense. Don't you act like no God blessed American fool up in there. Get your black ass out of this car.
Because you had to sign something.
I had to sign something.
I couldn't sign
and
it
you
for
told me that you were like, is there any way? Is there any way I can sign it?
We are married, flesh of flesh, bone of bone. Can I sign?
It is religion. My religion tells me she is just a simple woman. Can I please sign? She don't know how to read or write. Can I? Can I bring in a chicken and use a chicken leg? Like, it was, you did everything. And I walked in, and he was there. With an officer, whatever his name was, Officer
I think I may have said
Lafayette.
something. Like, I said, look, he's in there.
And I think you saw it flash across my eye, because I was like, he is?
Don't fucking,
put him up.
It's like, don't fucking look at him. Don't talk to him. Just go in there and sign the goddamn paper and let's get the fuck out of here with the car.
And I was really like, I was like, you know what? I was like, marriage, social justice, marriage, justice, no peace, no. And I was like, you know what? I'm adjust. And I can see him out the corner of my eye, old Lafayette. Looking over
Lafayette, he got a name now.
Lafayette looking himself just in the corner, like, I wish he would. And I was like,
so wait, this is hindsight, very funny. In the moment,
it wasn't funny.
Lot of mercy.
Dear reader, it wasn't funny.
Jesus. But it does point something I want to talk about real quick before we tie this whole thing up.
Right.
Because I think there is a certain fearlessness that you have that I find admirable and necessary that, like, I cannot sort of recreate within myself, because only, like, I'm a very confident person. I'm very cool stepping into any room and feeling like I can hang with anybody. Like, I don't feel diminished. Around law enforcement, I won't even describe it. Like, I know what the worst outcome is if things don't go right. And it's the only time that I think about the worst possible outcome. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
Like, you're normally like, what if this happens? What if somebody comes in here and snatches the child? Like, how are you gonna leave the door? Like, I don't go there. But when I go around law enforcement, I'm like, no, none of that. And so, like, just talk about a little bit about that in terms of, like, your approach to social justice and how we differ there.
No, I have always felt like I can put my body in front of a black man's body when we are dealing with law enforcement, because I know that whatever I engender in them, it is not going to be fear.
Yeah.
And if I can be louder, talk my way out of, keep the attention on me, and that's happened to me before, whether I've been with men that I've dated or just, men that I'm related to, where I feel like I'll keep the attention on me by speaking and talking and being annoying or whatever it is, like, getting on their nerves, because getting on someone's nerves is still safe.
Yeah.
Annoying someone is still safe.
Do you feel
where
that
they're
you
not?
You remember that clip? I think it was Florida, young sister at a swim party. I mean, but you still feel like you feel safer than the black male counterparts?
It is a newer thing to see the visual images of black. I mean, and it's funny because that's what the Say Her Name campaign is all about, which is like, this is actually happening to black women too. But growing up,
right,
all of the images I ever saw was of black men being brutalized by police. And so I just have it in me now to put myself in front of in the line of fire, which I recognize now is there's no safety.
Yeah.
And it probably was an ignorant sense of safety and feeling like I won't engender fear in them. But I do feel like if it's between me and if we're in the same car, I have a better chance of coming out alive than the black man if I can keep the attention on me.
Okay. That works for me. Let's tie this one up. We agree that we, as citizens of this world, right? Like, forget about celebrity, forget about fame or whatever, but we are citizens of this country and of the world. And if as they say in New York on the subway, if you see something, say something, right?
Exactly.
Like, and be authentic to your voice, right? To what appeals to you on an individual basis. Because I think you get into trouble when you're trying to emulate somebody else's social action. Like, do you, and you probably go right more often than wrong. we also hopefully agree at this point that Ryan should not put herself in between the police and when they're doing their job, especially when she's got warrants.
Warrants for my arrest.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we're pretty much on the same page. Let's take a break.
That's the moral of the story.
Let's take a break, and we'll be back with more We Don't Always Agree.
Okay, so
yes,
this is the show, part of the show that we have both come to love because I win it, and you love it when you see me win, right?
Smoking, son. Come on,
it's when we have a topic and we get 2 minutes to like talk about why Ryan is right about it,
or wrong.
And sometimes you try to get your little elbows in there and be like, sometimes Sterling's right too.
You have little elbows.
And I think it's very cute.
They're very sharp too.
They are
like,
sharp,
why
which
your
is how
elbows
I
so
win.
bony?
Yay!
What's the topic?
The topic is, what is the most frivolous thing you would rally or protest for or against?
Oh, wow. Gosh. Do you have one off the top of your head?
I have a few, because I'm
you think about these things? Go ahead.
And
No, you start.
I think about these things a lot.
You start.
The first thing I would probably go to a rally against is sugar and grits. Like, if somebody was like, will you meet me on the corner?
The first time I put sugar and grits, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think I would. I'd be like, no sugar, no peas. Or some sugar, no peas, something.
Anyway.
I'm workshopping my slogan for that. But
let me
that
also,
might be something.
okay, so like, this is what, the first date, the first movie we went to, and you're like, should we get some popcorn and a soda? And I was like, yeah, cool. So this is why Brown likes sugar. Ryan likes salt. We get this popcorn.
Salty.
And then you're like, can we get a little salt in it? And then she's like, yeah. So it's like, she takes the can, the bucket over.
This is not true.
And this nigga starts to salt the popcorn.
Why I gotta be the
and
N-word?
she's just talking. We're talking the whole time. And she's just like salting the thing or whatever. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this movie. This is going to be so much fun.
Okay, you know how I know you're not telling the truth?
I was like, nigga, are you going to stop?
I'm going to tell you how I know you're not telling the truth.
When we went into the movie and put it in my, I was like, and since in our marriage, you would make food.
Okay,
you would make
Mr.
food.
Sense memory.
And like, I would eat something, I'm like,
That is not
Bird, that's
true.
Really good, but could we put the salt on the side?
And so I don't put salt. I don't salt his food anymore. And this old bland Negro
Not
over
bland.
here.
I will put salt in it. I will put salt in it. So I would protest against your salting of the food. And I won because you don't put it in there anymore. There's one time
I put it in there because you're so dramatic.
There was I mean,
come on.
The saliva glands were going overdrive to keep from drying my mouth out.
Ridiculous.
I feel like you would go to the ocean and just be like, let me take a sip.
You're ridiculous.
That's that good water. That's that good water, that ocean water.
Stop. Oh, come on. Oh,
That's
no. This is so
That's how you
stupid.
be.
No.
Yeah, I will go for a protest against Ryan salting. Not just salt. Black people, I eat salt in my food. This woman takes it to another level. Another level. I win. Yay! That's it for another episode of We Don't Always Agree. Tell a friend, subscribe, join us next time when we can talk about more shenanigans. Good times, Bert. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Do you know that I have found some smoked sea salt? Malden smoked sea salt flakes, and I love it.
I love it too.
Malden, if you want to send me some more,
when we were in Germany.
And it's delicious.
Hey, tell them this. We were in Germany. It was the first time I saw you put salt on your food and be like, that was too salty. Because they had them big old fat flakes, them big old fat German flakes of salt.
German flake, come on.
I'm just saying.
They looked like dandruff though. And I was like, oh my God. Oh wow, okay. It's like, even me, Lord, even
you come
me.
Over.
That is a song. Even me.
Good times. Lord. All right, fade to black.
I could walk with you for 1,000,000 miles and my feet would not get tired. Where you go, I'll go, winter or summer.